Hello and welcome to Mediator Musings, the podcast where we explore a number of different facets of the world for mediators. I'm your host, Joanne Law, Director of Mediation Institute. Join me as we delve into insightful discussions about mediation practice, business development, and industry updates. We'll range from theoretical discussions to practical tips to enhance your mediator's skills. Let's embark on this journey together by mediators for mediators. Stay tuned and get ready to be inspired. Hello and welcome. Today we're focusing in on marketing and building your professional practice. I'm chatting with Dan Mortimer. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
And it's great to be having a chat with you. So you're the founder of Performance Laws, which is an interesting name in of itself. Your main area of focus is in marketing and business development. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Over the past, I guess, going on 8+ years, we've worked with dispute resolution professionals all over the world, helping them with business development.
I've been following your work for a few years.
That's right. We've been in the same sphere.
We have. And finally, the time was right to find out a little bit more about why are you working with us? Why are you working with mediators?
That's a very good question. I wish I had the perfect answer to that, but I think it's just so many things in life. It's just a range of coincidences. I spent a career in sales, advisory, and consulting, and ended up starting my own business. Maybe taking a step back, a lot of the work that I did was very much relationship oriented. So I generally was building businesses or selling services that were more sophisticated in nature. And the audiences that I were targeting were generally more sophisticated too. They were like longer lead times, more relationship building involved, more relationship cultivation involved. And when I started my own business, I was thinking I'd like to help people do this, but I wasn't entirely sure who I would work with. I was thinking I'll work with anybody who's interested. That's not a great marketing strategy, by the way. And I ended up working with a few lawyers, and then I stumbled upon my first mediator client and just loved that person. Such a like a pleasant individual, very experienced, also very curious, very humble. So we hit it off immediately. And when he explained to me his challenges with getting more work and the type of techniques and activities that he'd been trying out in the past, it seemed to me like he was doing a lot of traditional digital marketing. But when I was listening to him about how he was getting clients, it sounded more like he was getting clients based on relationships. We started working together, and I guess the rest is history. So it turned out that my background was pretty perfect for working with mediators and helping them elevate their visibility and build out their networks.
Yeah, and that's such a problem. Often mediators like to think, oh, I need more clients to have a sustainable business, and they tap into the more digital style, just get the leads in approach, and it really doesn't necessarily work for us. So when you're talking about relationship focus, what do you mean by that?
Good question. What do I mean by that? Maybe I should also put in a little caveat that there's obviously always nuances to everything. There's no such thing as a magic recipe that works for absolutely everybody. So there's going to be some mediators that benefit to some extent from traditional digital marketing, but the vast majority will benefit more from relationships. And even the ones that are benefiting from digital marketing, I think it's a better approach to go for the relationships first, because generally that doesn't involve a lot of costs on your end. It comes more comes down to you putting in the effort and allowing for time. Just some further context. But when I talk about relationships, what I tend to see is that most mediators tend to get cases from different kinds of referral sources. There are some obviously that get cases directly from clients, from their end clients, but even then, the choice of using a mediator is really like a personal one. It's much easier to make that choice, whether it's a commercial dispute or a personal dispute, if you have some kind of trust, there's some kind of relationship with the mediator in question.
Yeah.
So if you have that relationship established as a mediator, it's going to be much easier for you to get work from your network. And the benefit with being a mediator, for the most part at least, is that you also can get repeat business.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the business. So if you develop some core relationships, and you actually said it before we pressed play, you
Yeah.
said you don't need a million referral parties. You need a small group of core people that want to work with you. And if you have that, then you're in a fantastic position.
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely. And I'm just thinking about my most recent clients. One's come from a lawyer that we've done a lot of referral back and forward, and I really trust him and he trusts me. So that's a really good relationship. Another one's from a past client or a referral. Usually there's a phase in people's lives where there's lots of your friends and acquaintances are all separating. I work in family law mediation, so there's some patterns there from clients as well. But with the referrals, having those trusted relationships, they don't develop. There's some knowledge and some learning about how you do develop those kinds of
Yeah.
relationships so that you can be seen as a trusted person.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the challenge is, and I completely understand why people default to the digital marketing, because if you're starting out and you think, okay, what am I going to do? Develop relationships. Ooh, that sounds hard. Put up a website, start a blog, maybe do some speaking engagements. Then I know how to do that. Let me focus on that. So that choice is it's hard because you don't know what to do. And when you do start with it, just like you said, because it takes time, there's no immediate feedback. So if you're doing networking, I actually don't like that word so much because it sounds very one directional. But if you're trying to build like mutually beneficial relationships, you won't get immediate feedback. You go to a conference, you speak to some people, generally, they won't give you business immediately. So there's no way for you to actually know if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So falling back on some tried and tested techniques and approaches is helpful because that removes a lot of doubt. So I guess we'll get into that, but that's what we're trying to do, provide that roadmap.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to get into that now. How do you do that? We get a lot of people because we train and accredit mediators and family dispute resolution practitioners. A lot of them have come out of corporate where they get the work given to them. you know,
Exactly.
so right, and there's work, and you do your work, and you go home again. And for whatever reason, they've decided, okay, I want to run my own business. I want to be an independent professional. And suddenly you turn up for work and the work's not there. There's plenty of busy work. It's the brain
Exactly.
work.
It's tough.
Yeah. How do you help someone like that? Is that the sort of person or your typical clients, people that are already well underway and now they.
Oh, that's a great question, Joanna, because I think that it's important because obviously, if you look at our website and you look at some of the examples, there are going to be some examples that people that have done really well. But we work with clients at all stages of their practice development. So we have a lot of beginners that we work with, some that already have selected which area they want to focus on, but some that are even not at that stage, that still are thinking about what is it that I want to focus on? I have some passions, but I might also have some experiences. What should I leverage? Can they be combined? So we have people all across the board, really. But yeah, how do you help someone? That's probably the most common comment I will get when I speak to someone is, I don't know how to do business development and marketing. I'm not good at it. I might not even like it. That is very common. And I think that goes back to the background that you mentioned. That is the reason, very likely at least. So we've tried a lot of different things over the years. I've tried just only coaching people. I've tried only providing like e-learning platform. I've tried like different kinds of like group settings. But what I've found works the best is really if you have a combination of everything. We all learn in different ways. Some people are more visual, some want to like do their own work. But I think irrespective of where you are in terms of your preferences, having a combination of the information through different sources is going to be the best way for you to learn. And what do I mean by that? Having access to quality information that you can go through at your own time, important. Having access to a community where you can engage with others, really important. Having access to group calls, very important. And also having access to some one-on-one time with someone that is specialized in this space. So obviously I provide that in our training program. So that's really what I've found. And maybe for a lack of a better word, the way I think you should view business development as a mediator is to see it as a university. It's not something that you go through over a weekend or you read an article online or even listen to one of Dan Mortimer's webinar and everything's fine. Now let's do it. I think the best way is just really to see it as a long-term thing where you engage with others. And those others are basically going through the same kind of material as you, and they have the same kind of aspirations as you. If you go to university and you study, I don't know, finance,
Mm.
and everybody in your class are studying history, something's going to be a little bit off there. If you populate the course with finance people, then all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I'm part of this group. We're all doing the same thing. We're trying to achieve the same end goal. So I think ultimately that's what we're trying to do, provide, even though it's not a 5-year or 4-year training, just having that mindset is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was having a look when I'm doing one of these podcasts, I usually ask my guests to give me a bit of background about what they're doing. And I've got some links that I'll share that you'll be able to access through the podcast and some of the platforms you'll find it on. And one of the things that you've got is a group that you've called Learn the Art of Cultivation, which I
Yes.
absolutely love because it's a metaphor I use a lot with our members as well, that we need to cultivate these relationships. We need to cultivate our business. And anyone that isn't a gardener, there's quite a lot of inputs that go into a garden for it to grow.
Yes. That was my first job, actually, a gardener.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. No, we speak the same language then. Yeah. You can be doing great. And certainly here in Australia, you go away for a bit and it doesn't get any water and you come back and everything's not looking happy.
Exactly.
And we know that's the typical feast and famine cycle of business. If you haven't got systems and processes in place when you get busy because things work, suddenly you're letting all of that other stuff that maybe is not your favorite. So having a community, reminding people, bringing them back to what they need to do is pretty important. Is that kind of the sort of thing you're talking about or something?
Yes. Yeah. There are a lot of agriculture references there, Joanne. So you can, now that you're in the group, you can have a look at what some of it's about. But yeah, absolutely. Like what we've tried to do there is just create a free community where we share, I think, more and more even. Like maybe it started out with your traditional free things a couple of years ago, but now we're actually adding information that's only really shared in our paid for programs. So the goal is just really to try to help people get results. There's a 115-hour like free course there that's perfect if you're just starting out or you've started to get your first few cases and you want to grow. And then there's another program that we're building out that will be slightly more advanced. So yeah, everybody who's interested in finding out more or just growing their practice, their business, they're very welcome to check out the group. It's entirely free.
Awesome. Yeah, no, and that's fabulous. So we'll share the links out. Come in and find those or reach out if you can't. But anyway, we're for Mediation Institute members and network, we're going to do a webinar with Dan next year in 2025. So depending on when you're listening to this, you might be able to find the recording somewhere or you can come live.
Exactly. Hope to see you live.
Yeah, it's always much better. You can ask questions directly. One of the things I guess I wanted to just circle back around, you talked about bringing people together that have got the similar needs and interests. And it's something, sometimes people say, oh, other mediators are my competitors. However, once you get a little bit more mature view of your practice and you stop seeing everybody is my client, you can realize that maybe other mediators can be really good referrers for you once you develop your niche.
True. That's absolutely true. I think you're right. It does depend on the nature of your business. You could always benefit from having good relationships with your peers, period. But let's say if you're an arbitrator, then you can very much build a business based on referrals from other arbitrators. But even mediators can build ad hoc type of referral based interactions, but also formalized. There's situations maybe where you're unable to take on cases for different reasons, and then you could recommend your colleagues. So I think you're absolutely right. The one thing that I always say is maintain those healthy relationships for the purpose that you just mentioned, Joanne,
Yeah.
but be a little bit careful with building a business development strategy based on what other mediators do.
Yeah.
Because most other mediators need and want more cases.
Yes, see them as part of your ecosystem rather than, what are they doing?
Exactly. They're not your North Star.
No, good, very good point. Yeah, as I see the mediators that are most successful have a really good idea of who their preferred clients are and the sort of work that they really want to do. And they can be very generous about referring out work that they don't want to do that might be just perfect for someone else, which kind of, sometimes people fill their time with work that's not best for them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a one finite resource time.
Exactly. In the beginning, you might have to accept,
Yeah.
I think you should accept to be quite flexible, but as time goes on, having focus really does matter. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think when you do this kind of work, business development, in the beginning, it might feel a little bit strange, unnatural. You're pushing your boundaries and every activity is a little bit silo based. But what you'll find over time is that all the dots start connecting. So I have clients that I've worked with for years, 5 years, they weren't naturals to begin with, but they're now operating in a very unselfish way, connecting other people and building relationships. And it might always be obvious exactly where the road is heading. And you can't always think about what can I get out of this. So having that unselfish attitude is helpful. And even if it doesn't lead to business in that particular instance, what it does is it rising tide lifts all boats. But additionally, it also helps you with just becoming more informed. So when you speak to your clients, you are able to present yourself in a much better way.
Definitely. And to labour our gardening metaphor, it's planting seeds. And
Exactly. It's planting
sometimes
seeds.
it takes the perfect conditions for those seeds to germinate. So,
Exactly.
absolutely. So, Dan, you're pretty active on LinkedIn. So, I would encourage anyone who's listening and wants to find out a bit more to look for you on LinkedIn
Yes,
and connect.
I'm easy to find.
Yeah, easy to find. Excellent. And if they're struggling to find your school and your group, I imagine it'd be connected through from your LinkedIn profile somewhere as well, or
Yes, the easiest way really is to go to our website, performancelaws.com, or go to me on LinkedIn. Send me a message if you have questions, set up a call. If you want to talk about something specific, I'm always available.
Yeah.
And like you said, depending on when you listen to this, but now it's early December. Now's a perfect time to take a look at business development to just enter the new year the right way.
Absolutely. When we're chatting about that, it's such a perfect time for planning and thinking about what you're going to create in the following year and with plans just to help make things happen. So I guess as a bit of a wrap up, what are final thoughts that you'd like people to take away from? You've been working with ADR professionals, and I know you're a bit of a global citizen, so in various countries, I'd say at least 3 that I'm aware of, and probably.
Yeah, there's been a lot of traveling as of late with building a family and so on. We'll all be together back in England where we have our base now early next year. But yeah, going back to your question, any final point? I think what I would like to say is just don't try to do all of this on your own. Like I said, we've worked with hundreds of mediators over the years. I've spoken to thousands of mediators. And I think the best success is really achieved when you have access to quality resources and help. You surround yourself with people that are on the same journey and that are working through the same kind of resources and material. And you just lean into it and immerse yourself into that, just that university type of approach that I mentioned. You definitely don't have to have gone to the university to do this. It's just an analogy. But I think that would be my recommendation. Don't wait. Don't try to do it all yourself. as a first step, join our free group, see what it's all about. You're not getting married to it. If you don't like it, you can leave it.
The barrier to entry is low.
Join the group and leave it if you want to.
I think that's a really important point to make, particularly if you are a sole practitioner. It can be really quite lonely, and working alongside others, it can just make so much difference. So you can share those successes.
Yeah. And I think like some of our clients are that we work with for a long time, like some of them are doing so incredibly well. Perhaps they don't actually need access to everything. Maybe it would be sufficient to check in from time to time, but they're still with us
Yeah,
because they enjoy the community and they enjoy the interaction. And as they tend to put it, there's always some nugget that comes from each and every interaction.
absolutely. We all develop our comfort zone, and engaging in programs like yours, it does push us outside of that. And that's where all the good stuff is.
I agree.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dan. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm really looking forward to the webinar next year, and hopefully you'll get some really interesting questions from our members as well.
I look forward to it. I definitely do. And thank you so much, Joanne, for inviting me to the podcast and for the webinar. We'll catch up early next year.
We will indeed. So have a wonderful Christmas. And I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dan Mortimer. If you go to performancelaws.com, you will find out a little bit more about him and the program. If you go to members, or one word, .au, you'll find our upcoming events for the start of 2025 and the webinar that we'll be hosting with Dan. As a final thought, just really thinking about that metaphor of gardening and the importance of building a healthy referral ecosystem for your professional practice. So go exploring and find some fresh seeds that you can plant in your business system. Thank you so much for listening to Mediator Musings. Follow the podcast so you get notified next time we release an episode. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can find Mediation Institute on LinkedIn and Facebook, or just search Mediation Institute. You can also visit our website on mediationinstitute.edu.au. I'm Joanne Law, and I really hope you found some insights and inspiration that you can put into action within your professional practice. Till we meet again, take care.